right, let's begin today with our Angel Hoop 3 block. So we are, again, just checking to make sure we have the right stitchable area. Are you doing the 6x10, 8x12, or 9x14? Make sure it is loaded up correctly on your machine from the USB directly and that you have the right file type and size pulled up on your machine. Second thing to check is just that you understand what all of these mean. If you have any questions about what these are, you can refer back to one of our videos about how to read a pattern in machine embroidery, or just head back to the beginning of the instructions where we go into detail on what each of these icons mean. But don't worry, I'm going to walk you through the whole thing step by step. All right, the first thing we're going to do on the Angel block, and you'll notice that this color, the heading color is different again than block 1 or block 2. That gives us easy access when we are just flipping through the pattern, either on our iPad or on our computer, or if you've printed it out, that you know exactly what block you are on, just at a quick glance. All right, so the first thing we do does not have a number on it, it just has a hoop. So the first thing we're going to do is, again, hoop our stabilizer, and you're going to layer it just as we have been doing before. So you put the bottom hoop on the bottom here, and then you're going to take what it says here is, you can and the picture shows it, your heavy tearaway stabilizer, and place it on top. And then you're going to take your fused PP fabric and place it directly on top. Now I'm going to just do an even check here to make sure that it's all even and all the way around, because I want to catch everything in the hoop so it has even tension. You don't need to stretch or pull, you're just going to place it there. And when you lower your hoop down, then you're going to just make sure that it stays nice and square and straight. All right, make sure it's nice and taut, and I'm just going to tighten it up. Good. Excellent. There we go. So it's nice and hooped and in the ready to go and in the machine. Number 1 is our placement stitch. So again, placement stitch is in the top box here. And what placement stitch means is it just stitches out in no thread color. So in any thread color you want, it doesn't have an allocation for the thread. It stitches out where you're going to place your fabric next. So we are going to take step 1, put it in the machine, and just stitch out so we know exactly where to place the next step of fabric. All right, let's get started. So you can see here that this is showing us exactly where we need to place. I'm actually using the first thread color that's being called for in step 5, but it is completely up to you. And knowing that we have the white angel dress coming, it is up to you if you want to continue with that thread color or change to a different thread color for tack down, although that's nothing is required because it will be covered with a cover stitch. All right, if we move on to step 2 now, it says the tack down stitch, which is shown by this double line, because at Riley Blake Designs, our tack down stitch does have 2 rows of stitching, and that is to protect you against if you catch a row of stitching when you're trimming it, you still have an extra row of stitches in there. Take your II piece, and fabric goes right side up here. So I'm going to place this right over top. Now, a couple of things you want to remember is that we do allow about a ½ inch overage around the whole shape so that you can easily grab it. If you are putting this as tight as you can to here, you're going to have a hard time trimming this edge really close and tight and nicely. So my suggestion would be just to check, place it down, and check to make sure that you have enough room on all sides to be able to grab a hold of that top fabric when we get to that next trim step. All right, you can either place it down by washi tape or just lay it flat. Make sure that if the direction of the fabric that you're using, this one doesn't have a directionality, or if it's even back and forward, is nice exactly where you want it. And we'll go ahead and place it back in the machine. So I'm really glad I used this color of thread so you can easily see it, but I do want to show you here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there is that 2 rows of stitching that's happening here. And so that's going to come in really helpful when we're about to trim it like we are right now. Okay, so I'm going to take my curved applique scissors and I'm going to start on a flat surface so that there's no pull. Trying to trim it around in your hoop you can poke your bottom stabilizer, or you can just bump a little bit. Maybe you catch a few things or don't get as close as you can. So for best trimming results, take your hoop out of the machine, place it on a flat surface and pull that 1/2 inch just a little taut and cut that edge. Then I keep turning it and doing the next edge because I am right-handed. I'm trimming from my right to my left. All right, now I'm just going to make sure I have all these little threads trimmed off to keep my work surface really nice and neat. And then it'll avoid having any threads that you need to trim afterwards. Perfect. All right, the next step here so we just did that trim step. The next step is step number 3. That is another placement stitch. It's over on a different part of the hoop here, and we are going to go ahead and do that. So you might be wondering why this block is, the angel is rotated here. She's rotated 90 degrees because that has to do with how the block best fits in all of the different types of hoops that there are out for all the different types of machines. So this block is actually rotated here. And so you'll see that this is the angel's body, and you're going to see as we're building it, it's going to just be here. The whole block will be like this. It's going to be the same size, and we're going to trim it just as we have, but you'll notice that it's actually stitching out on a 90-degree turn. All right. Okay, so now we're going to go in and stitch out step 3, that placement stitch. Wonderful. Now we have this rectangle stitched at the bottom. This is the flower pot. You'll be able to see it right here. And we are going to take our step 4, our fabric S. This is a tack down, and place the fabric right side up. So I'm taking my second fabric that I prepared, size S, and I'm going to center it on that piece, not on the whole hoop, but centering it on that tack down stitch. So again, I'm just going to check and make sure that I do have a good 1/2 inch all the way around. Oh, I'm a little tight here. Look how tight I am over there. So I'm actually going to pull it down just a bit and check both sides. That's much better. All right. I'm going to place it down, stick it back in the hoop, and stitch out step number 4 on my machine so it does that double row of stitches and tacks down fabric S. Here we go. Now we're ready to trim this out here. So we are doing, again, I'm going to hold up this 1/2 inch here, and I'm going to keep it on my flat surface and get as close to it as I can and just trim along. I like to just keep rotating my hoop so I'm not in any kind of like awkward trimming position that can happen when you are trimming. Excellent. Okay. That was our trim step. Now for our very first thread color. So you'll see that there is a thread color here. This is number 10, thread 10, and it's what I've had in my machine this whole time. But if you don't have that color in your machine, now is the time to put it in. This is a fill stitch, and this is going to be the petals on the flowers. So we are going to go ahead and stitch them. You're going to notice that they're running together so that there's not a lot of jumps and cuts that are happening. And we'll just go ahead and watch the machine do its magic as we stitch out step number 5. Let's take a moment to just enjoy those stitches. Did you notice how it is moving around each of those petals and how that design is working? Isn't that just gorgeous and beautiful? All right, nothing to do there. You can leave it inside your machine. I just wanted to take a moment and enjoy it together with you. The next step is now number 6. We are going to be switching our thread here to thread number 8. And this is a fill stitch. So it's going to do a couple of different things. It's going to cover up these stems, but it's also going to do the stem and the leaf of the cherry that the angel is holding. So you're going to want to switch to thread number 8 and make sure your machine is on step number 6. It's really coming together. Yay, yay. Look at that fun stitch. That fun stitch around that leaf. Isn't that beautiful? And it's mimicking Lori Holt's gorgeous fabric inside of that leaf. Now, if you have your your jump stitches trimmed on your machine, then that's great. I turned mine off just so that I could show you all the places that you need to do it. So if you don't have that or your machine's not capable of doing that, now is the time to do it there. And I always like to flip it on the back and just clean up my back every once in a while just to keep it nice and tidy. All right. Moving right along. All right. We are moving on to step 7 and 8, but I just want to talk about them for a second here because step 7 is using thread color number 19, which is the skin tone of the angel, and number 8 is using thread number 1, which is the wings and the arms of the angel. However, you'll notice if you come along, number 10 and 11 are also using those same thread colors. So I'm pointing this out because sometimes your machine, depending on how you have it set, combines the same color, and you want to be very careful that you aren't combining these two colors. They are separated for a reason because of how the angel is being layered on top of one piece on top of the other. So it gives the illusion that one arm's coming from behind and the other arm is coming from the top. So it's very important that these step 7 and step 8 and 10 and 11 are separated on your machine. They are on the USB and on the instructions. All right. Okay, so then saying that, let's go on to step 7. You are choosing your thread number 19. So here's mine, my skin color of my angel here, and this is going to be a fill stitch. So I'll go ahead and change this and we'll get this step stitching out. Excellent. If you have a jump stitch here, now you're going to want to take it out of your machine and cut it. If you already have it cut, then that's wonderful. You can keep going. And now we're going to move on to the first time we're going to see color 1. So this is step 8. We're going to put in color 1 here. This is going to be the back arm of the angel and the wings. And we'll just stitch this fill stitch out on step number 8. All right, excellent. Isn't that adorable? So I just want to take it out so we can enjoy it together. The texture on it is so much fun. Just take a look at that. Oh, wow. There's already so much happening here in just 2 fabrics and all of these threads. So much dimension and so much beauty, just like Lori Holt's fabrics that it's mimicking. So fun. All right, next up is step number 9, which is a cover stitch. So this cover stitch we are using thread 6 for, and you're going to see how it's going to cover all of that angel's dress wherever we don't have another spot covering it. However, this is another opportunity before you begin. If there was any loose threads that you see that have come out while you're working, you could just give them another cleanup and a chance to just clean it up before you do that cover stitch. So let's go ahead and change this thread color. Let's go ahead and change this thread color, and then we are going to do a cover stitch on step number 9. You can go ahead and leave your hoop in. I just want to take mine out for a second so we can ooh and ah together. This is half the fun of machine embroidery. So I just want to bring this in here and just have you notice just again how wonderful that cover stitch is covering all of those layers. But let's take a look at these corners. Look at how they are different degrees corners, but the edges are just beautiful and there's still full coverage on them. That is just such a fun part of the design. You'll also notice that it didn't quite do a full cover here. It just did an underlay. That is because this is where our second arm is going. So remember I said to reserve that step 10 and 11 because we're placing it again, those same colors. This is where it happens, and we're going to put that other arm over there. And we don't want to have extra bulk from the stitches underneath, so we just have a little underlay that runs between. All right, so saying that, let's move on to that step number 10, which is back again with your thread color number 19. This is going to do the face, so the angel's face, the whole head, as well as that front arm. So we'll switch that thread color and we'll get stitching this number 19 fill stitch on step number 10. Okay, with the face and the hand, she's really coming to life. You can leave her in unless you have that jump stitch and you'd like to trim it, then this is the time you would do it. And again, I'm just going to do it on the back as well. And there we go. All right, moving to the second time we are using this thread color number 1 for step 11. So here we are going to do her outside arm as well as her rosy cheeks. So this is going to be a fill stitch for step number 11 on our machine. There she's coming. All right. So again, if you want to leave her in your machine, go ahead. If you need to trim anything, this is the time you do it in between. Just take that out and catch those little threads on the front. And as I always do, also on the back, just to keep that nice and clean. All right. Excellent. All right. Now we are moving off the angel for a minute and we are going to do the star, well, and her halo and eyes. So this is going to be thread number 12. This is actually step number 12. So 12 and 12, we are doing step 12 and thread number 12. You can see if you've been stitching along with us on block 1 and 2, you might notice this might look kind of familiar. There is a theme pulling through all the blocks. Lori, when she designed this quilt, you can just see all the thought and the details that are being pulled in so that the whole thing feels cohesive and really joined together. So we're going to go ahead and stitch out step number 12 with thread number 12. All right, So this is where if you need to trim anything, you'll go ahead and do that right now. And it is also time that we flip the page. So we are moving on to page 22 of the instructions. And here we are stitching out next step 13. Step 13 in color 11 is the cherries that the angel is holding. So this is also going to make a fun fill stitch that won't be too dense, that will be in place of a fabric. So it's a nice small little area, and you're going to see the machine and the designs really mimic what Lori Holt has designed in her fabric here through machine embroidery. So let's switch out step 13 for thread color number 11. Oh, look at that cuteness. Oh, you guys, this is so much fun. Look at the images that are coming inside of those cherries, and it's really mimicking what's happening in the leaf there. Again, if you need to trim anything, now is your time. If you don't, you can leave it in the machine and just hop over to the next step. But I'm just going to like trim up a little bit here. And we are going to begin the next step together. So the next step is step number 14, and this is the center of all of these flowers that are here. So we are using thread number 4, and this is another fill stitch. So you can just sit back and watch this one stitch out before we get to a couple more technical things that are coming up along the way. So step number 14, let's switch that out to thread color 4. Wow, isn't that a beautiful stitch? It is thin, so it doesn't have a lot of density to it, and not a lot of like in and out of the needle on the stabilizer and through all of the other layers, but it just really gives this sort of like fluffy burst and brings those flowers to life. How fun is that stitch? Number 15, if you need to trim anything, now is your time. Step number 15, we are using thread 15. Wow, how fun is this? So step 15, we're using thread 15, and we are working on the other star that is rotated slightly. Let's go ahead and stitch that one out. We are moving on to step 16, which is the fill stitch. So I say this every single week, but this is one of my favorite stitches inside. It really mimics the fabric that's happening inside of these stars. So we are going to switch our thread to thread number 3 on step 16 and go ahead and stitch both centers of the stars out. Just a couple more stitches to go, and look at what is coming already in this hoop. How fun. If you need to trim your jump stitches, you can always do that. I'm actually going to get prepared for a step that's coming up, and just while I'm here, just trim any of these threads that are coming a little bit loose. We have a couple steps to go before this cover stitch, or one more before the cover stitch, but I'm here, so I'm going to trim them and keep them nice and short, and make sure everything on the back is also nice and clean. Wonderful. All right, we are moving on to step 17. This is going to fill in the leaves on this flower pot, and they're going to just have a really beautiful and light and airy feel to them, and I just can't wait to see them stitch out. We are doing this in a different green color this time. Step 17 is actually in thread number 7, just to give it a little bit more dimension and to follow along with how Lori has designed this quilt. So moving on to step 17, change your thread to thread 7 for a detail stitch. All right. That is step 17. Again, if you need to take anything out to trim it, you can go ahead. Otherwise, we're going to move right on to step 18. This is the last thread stitch, but we still have one more, and I don't want you to skip this one, so stay with me until we get there. But step 18 is a cover stitch using thread number 2, and this is that final cover stitch that's going to go over that big flower pot at the bottom. So all of those running stitches that we had along there, don't worry about them because those are getting covered up with this thread color. And we're going to go ahead and stitch this one out. How exciting is this, everyone? Oh my goodness. Well done. Good job, good job, good job. All right, we still have one very, very important step left. Do not omit this step. It's going to make sure that everything is where it should be when you put it together in the quilt, called the setting instructions. So step number 19 is just cross hairs. I'm going to keep the same thread color in, and I actually have a black bobbin today so I can show you both the front and the back what that will look like. And I'm going to stitch out this crosshairs. It's like a big basting stitch, and it's going to help you as we trim this block. Okay, so there we have it on the front, and I'm going to show you the back while I'm up here as well so you can see with the darker thread the crosshairs. All right, now we are ready to do the finishing steps of the block. Good job, pat yourself on the back, you did it. All right, so we're going to release it from the hoop, remove the block from your embroidery hoop. I'm going to set my hoop off to the side, and I have my embroidery here. Next up, we're going to carefully tear away the stabilizer. So you've done a lot of work on your block here. So take your time when you pull the stabilizer off. A couple of tips and tricks that I love to use is I love to do it on a hard, flat surface. And as I'm tearing it, I do like to push my fingertip right against the stitches, just to give a little bit of protection so you're not pulling on everything so hard. And just go little by little. And I just go around the whole outside and get this outside part. I'm not too concerned yet about anything on the inside. We'll do that together. All right, so it looks like this. Now I still have some big pieces in here. If there's any threads that you want to trim, now is your time to do it before you pull that stabilizer off. And so we have two options here. Right now I'm going to use the Bluebird stiletto. And I'm just going to tuck it inside and use it to lift up that stabilizer, get into all these tiny little pieces. Excellent. All right, once we have that all done, then you are going to just take a look at your block, make sure everything's intact, there's nothing that's pulled out, and I'm going to pull my pressing mat over. Again, I'm going to take my Jill Lily pressing pad and place it down here. And it's nice and thick, and what it does is it absorbs some of the density from the stitches so you aren't pressing your stitches totally flat. We're going to press it face down, and I am going to just lift up and down and press the design. I don't want to pull on the design. I just want to lift up and down and press gently just to sort of set everything in place. We've just kind of aggravated it while we tore all that stabilizer out. So we're just going to give it a nice press. Okay, once you have it pressed all the way that you want, you can put your iron away. I'm going to move my pressing pad out of the way and turn my design over. This is the fun part. All right, so here we are going to step number 4, center and line up the crosshairs with your Q-Cuts ruler. Now, just if this is the first block you're joining us for, I just want to point out at the end of every single block in the instructions, there is this chart, trimming the machine embroidery block. If you are doing the 6 by 10, you use a 6.5 by 6.5. If you're doing the lap size 8 by 12, you're using 8.5 trim it ruler, and the throw size is 10.5, 10.5. These sizes include your 1/4 inch seam allowance when you stitch it together. All right, so we're going to take your Cute Cuts Trim It ruler and you're going to place and line it up. So line up those crosshairs. So you can see these crosshairs on this ruler. Line those up directly with your block. And what I just love about this Cute Cuts ruler is that it has this seam allowance. You can actually see if your design is inside the seam allowance, you know you need to move it a little bit over because it'll get caught in there. Otherwise, I'm just checking my design and I have space around it all. Perfect. So we're going to check twice before we cut. Make sure I have the right rulers, my 6.5, and I am going to go ahead and cut. I'm going to turn this block around. And I'm measuring it in a couple spots again. So I'm measuring those crosshairs first to make sure I have it straight, and then lining it up on the sides I've already trimmed, and everything is lining up perfectly. And so I'm going to go ahead and cut it again. Just going to straighten that out. Perfect. Didn't move my hand, and now it's time for the big reveal. Excellent. So here we are, you guys. Now, one last step, we are going to use a seam ripper and carefully tear out those crosshairs. You can see that I have them on the back too. So that's one fun way about using a different color bobbin thread, is that it's really easy to pick out from the back. And once you pick it out from the back, once you make a couple of tears on your crosshairs, it's going to just slide out from the front with ease. So I'm doing that along here, and then I'm going to pull it out and you're going to see, whoa, look, the whole thing just comes up and all the little threads are there as well. Excellent. So I'm going to take back and place it over here just so you can take a moment to enjoy it. Good job. And we are going to take our block label that we used for cutting our pieces, and we're going to remember I'm pinning it to the back of my block. So again, it might seem obvious that this is the angel block, but it's going to be very, very easy when it comes to our setting instructions, when we know exactly which block to place where based on the name. So before I let you go, I just want to take a moment and enjoy all of the other blocks that we've done so far. Let's make this a little tradition as we are working through this stitch along together. So we've got block number 3, we've got block number 2, and block number 1. How is it going in your sewing space? We cannot wait to see what you are making with the Prim Angel Block stitch along.